Hello everybody, Dev here of the Roguelite Chronicles, and I'm here to showcase a fun variation of an archetype that's getting a lot of attention in the competitive scene. If you are kind of keep your eyes on social media, you see results of cups, regionals, and internets, and every once in a while you will see an archetype based around Slaking EX that peeks her head around the day 2, the mid to upper tables of day 2, or even wins a cup or anything like that. So I found, and after doing some research, I found an archetype of this variation that I love, and I think this is something that'll be fun to play in the ladder, even at your local leagues. So first and foremost, let's talk at the start of the show. Let's talk about Slaking EX. Slaking EX is a colorless stage 2 Pokemon, 340 HP, so it's super bulky. And it has two aspects of the card. It has the ability Born to Slack. If your opponent has no EX or V in play, you cannot attack. So that makes it feel bad, right? Like, okay, if my opponent doesn't have an EX or a V in play, I can't do any damage. But then you take a step back and you realize, wait a second. Some of the most popular decks in the format right now are all based around EX Pokemon. Gardevoir, Terrabox, Dragapult, Ceruledge. So that's not going to be an issue. Every deck runs at least one Fezandipiti and kind of utilizes it as its backbone for a mid to late game draw engine. There's a lot of decks that have to play Squawkabilly for its early game draw engine. So if your opponent puts in one of those support EXs into play, you are good to go for the entirety of the game. So how does that really matter? We can't attack. When we can't attack, what are we doing? Well, for 2 colors energy, we're doing 280 Great Swing. All we have to do is discard an energy from this Pokemon. I will take that trade every day. But there's a card in the format, and we'll obviously run it in this deck, that discard effect is not an issue. So let's look into the rest of the list, and then kind of talk about how we are building out what our strategy is for every match. So first and foremost, we are running a 3-3-3-1 line of the Slaking EX. So we have 3 Slakoth, 3 Vigoroth, 3 EX, and we do run 1 Baby Slaking. This is to counter Crustle and Mimikyus. So we want to make sure that we have an attacker that can get around the walls. This Baby Slaking does that as well. With the rest of the deck, we do run 1 Bloodmoon Ursaluna. This is an end game kind of Pokemon where we can attack for 1 or no energy very easily to do 240 and kind of end the game that way if we cannot end the game with a Slaking EX. We run a 2-1-2 line of Pidgeot. So Pidgeot is how we will make sure that we get what we need turn over turn when we're under item lock. We're under, and I would say item lock, there's multiple forms of item lock now with the Bidoof, with the Tyranitar. So we want to make sure that we have options in the mid to late game. And then we're also running a 1-1-1 line of this Wonderkiss Togekiss. So Wonderkiss is an ability when your opponent's active Pokemon is knocked out, flip a coin. If heads, take 1 more prize. So non-Mega EXs can turn into 3 prizes. Mega EXs can turn into 4 prizes. Single prize Pokemon can turn into 2 prizes. I like cheating the rules. This is an amazing way to kind of just accelerate your prize trade a little better in your favor in order for this to just run away from the match. Make your opponent chase you a little bit more. And then we do run 1 Fezandipiti. Like we said, everyone runs a Fezandipiti for draw. So with that being said, you see that we have a lot of stage 2 Pokemon. We have a lot of building up to do. So how are we stabilizing ourselves for that? A spec of choice for this is Grand Tree. Grand Tree is once during your turn, you may search for a stage 1 that evolves from your basic, and then evolve for and then search your deck again for a stage 2 evolving to that stage 1. So we can go from a Togepi to a Togekiss. We can go from a Pidgey to a Pidgeot. We can go from a Slakoth to a Slaking EX, all out of nowhere. This is acceleration, this is momentum that can build out of nowhere. And with that, we are running 2 rare candies, so we get 1 set up, basically we get a Pidgeot, and then we can start building our pieces around, making sure if we cannot Grand Tree more than once, we have the rare candies. But what about that weird energy cost? We have Hilda's. More evolution search, more energy acceleration. We will search, even if we have to go slow. Hilda will be able to grab the evolution piece we need, evolve, and grab an energy we need for that turn. But you're asking again, well, what do we do? Great, we have the attackers. We have the stage 2s in play. How do we attack with them? So first off, Ignition Energy. For the Slaking, they automatically get discarded anyway. So you discard the Ignition Energy, you do 280, it automatically gets discarded. It's a win-win scenario. But if you want to play a more conservative approach with that, that's where the special energy Boomerang Energy comes into play. So Boomerang Energy provides 1 Colress energy, and if this card is discarded by an effective attack, it basically goes from the discard pile back to that Pokemon. So the discarding effect of Great Swing gets counteracted by Boomerang Energy's natural effect. So you don't feel like you're always having to power up a single Pokemon. You can, after you get 1 Boomerang Energy and 1 other energy onto that Slaking EX, you're setting up your bench for a secondary attacker. And if you need a burst attack out of nowhere, you have the Ignition Energy to do that as well. So the special energy complements the effects of the attacks in this deck very, very well. So, as always, description of video will be in. As always, the deck list will be in the description of the video, and honestly, I like this version. It does have some consistency issues. As much as I talk about everything kind of sits there. As you can kind of see in the supporter line, we run 2 Lillie's Determination. That is all the early game draw. Everything else is kind of search based. So it's situational search. We use an Arven to grab what we need. We get a Colress Tenacity, we get a Hilda. We're kind of just pulling cards out of the deck, but we're not raw drawing if we get a low hand size. So that is a little bit of a concern with the deck. But other than that, the deck feels great when it plays. It's a very much of a high roll deck. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I don't want to make it feel like this deck is the best thing in the world. It is very much a high roll rogue based deck, but I love this version of the archetype. And with that being said, guys, let's jump onto the ladder to see how we do. Okay, we are going second. And honestly, not feeling the greatest about leading Fezandipiti, but I really don't want to lead Togepi. And we're facing against one of these item lock Tyrannitars. So we're going to have to get set up quickly, or we're not going to be able to use our items. This will be a fun little match. Once we get set up, we don't rely on items. Once we get our stadiums and our evolutions out, we'll be good. So we're going to take a mulligan. Can't do anything with it. And it runs. This has a Dragapult in it. Okay. Okay. So this is going to be an interesting way that we're going to have to play. That's all I can really say on that one. Artazon, that helps a lot. Artazon Buddy-Buddy will be able to set up. I really don't want to give our opponent Grand Tree, but we might have to rely on it for this match. Unless we get a Team Evo off of this top deck, that would be great. Not seeing attachment on our opponent's side. Alright, so what's Artazon? Let's grab Fan Rotom. Let's Buddy-Buddy. One of basics each. Let's Fan Call here for those pieces. Put another Slakoth into play. I kind of want to tempt our opponent here. I really want to tempt him into trying to get us into an Iono. And then we're going to end turn. Because we have pieces for some evolutions. We have some... Because then we could slow play this without having used a Grand Tree if our opponent is going to be slow. Because really, we don't have any items in hand. Our deck really isn't super item reliant. But we do need our opponent to put a EX into play in order for us to attack. Unless we go into the baby Slaking here. Which would be something we could do, but it'd be a little slow. And only really would be good for 1 KO. But we're seeing the Draclock, which means we're gonna... I would venture to say we're gonna see a Dragapult next turn. A Pupitar. That's fine. He's gonna try to... He's gonna make this Tyranitar super beefy. Okay. So really, with the way our hand is, I am going to just do the slow evolve here. We really don't have anything to go with. Unless we want to Grand Tree into a Togetic or Togekiss. But I really don't want to do that until I get other pieces ready to go. So we're going to slow play. Again, we're just going to pass. Our opponent only having 3-card hand, only having a Draclock. There's the Tyranitar. 290 means we can't one-shot it. But we can't attack right now with it. So that's fine. Because even if we get a big Slaking, we can't attack. But he can start trying to discard us, so we really do need to try to find a way to do damage. I really want our opponent to put in a track, like, as much as I hate to say it, give me a Dragapult. Let me put pressure that. There's the Lillie. Because once he turns on our attackers, we can just keep on going. Rare Candy Dragapult. No, Rare Candy Tyranitar. Okay. So... Fezandipiti. We're good. Never mind. We're going to keep that Fez for the rest of the match. We can start picking apart his other aspects of his deck and his other attackers. Now, we have to hard retreat out of here because we can't switch. But really don't want to give Dragapults, if he even has Dragapults. Okay. You know what? Let me look at our board here. Okay. Okay. We're gonna play a little slow. We're gonna play slow. Just because of how what we're pulling off the top deck. So we're not seeing any real energy. I don't want a Grand Tree because I don't want to give him the opportunity. Plus, there's no real point right now. So we're going to end turn. I really wish... Oh, we could have Hilda to get everything. But that's fine. We can do that next turn. Rocket's Watchtower. That actually turns off our abilities. So we don't need We don't need the EX in play anymore. We can be ultra aggressive on that. Okay. So we just need to get a way to get Fezandipiti out of the active. We have Jet Energy for that. We already have a Boomerang Energy on to the Slaking. So the Slaking can be turned on next turn. And then we can start playing around with different pieces here. Now we can't Pidgeot. I just realized that. We can't Pidgeot because of Watchtower. But we can get a stadium to turn that off. And we can get the energy too, so let's Jet Energy that up. I'm gonna bump the Watchtower because he does have the Fezandipiti. And I want to start the slow Togekiss setup here. I'm okay with this. And we're just gonna put damage on. Just Boomerang that back. Next turn, we'll put the Togekiss up and hopefully flip for some multiple prizes. Try to get another Slaking set up. And really start trying to put a lot of pressure on our opponent in terms of prize trade. Because with the Tyranitar, he's 3-shotting us. With the Luxurious Cape. If he does get a Dragapult, we're beefy enough to survive a couple of those. A Lillie, he's just refreshing his hand. Let's see what our opponent does here. Because the item lock messes up a lot of archetypes. It really doesn't mess us up because of the amount of items that we really don't play in abundance of. Yes, we rely on items. We need our Night Stretchers or Switches, but we also have other ways to kind of set those things up. So now he's going to Ultra Ball and Colress Tenacity. We don't really need that. So we are in a spot where we can set up another attack. We can quick search. For another EX here. As long as this Fezandipiti is in play, I am going to be happy with what. And then we're going to Great Swing. The Luxurious Cape gives us a prize, and we can flip for a third prize. So let's Boomerang. Heads, so we're getting 3 prizes off this Tyranitar. We are getting 3 prizes off a single prize Tyranitar. Basically breaking how we're supposed to be doing this. And he is giving us this Fezandipiti. We're going to work around this. We can just boss around. Because right now, we really have almost nothing in our discard. So Tyranitar, you can get the Tyranitar up. He might want to have the Tyranitar active. I don't know what his goal is. But if he's going to put a Reversal Energy on a Tyranitar, I'm sure he's going to try to attack with it. We could also just attack into the Fezandipiti now and win with a good hit flip, but I don't want to do that because it's not Not guaranteed, and then it shuts off our only 2 attackers who are set up. So I would like to, this upcoming turn, use the Pidgeot here to grab this Tyranitar and just get down to a prize where we can do back-to-back boss. So let's quick search. Let's check our supporters. We have 2 boss, so we're going to take one now. Let's take the only attacker he has set up. And our opponent concedes, so we got to where we were. That's a beautiful slow play of this stalling Tyranitar deck against our deck. And I just loved how versatile the Slaking can be in the current meta. Okay, so we're going second, leading with only a Pidgey. But we have Buddy-Buddy, we have Artazon, we have a Boomerang Energy. Facing against... I don't know what we're facing against. A whole bunch of mulligans. I'm going to take all of them because I think we can... We'll be able to set up now. Okay. Oh, we're facing against Tankanga. Okay. Okay. That is fine. So what we're going to do is that's fine, because we're going to shuffle our deck. We have Hilda, we'll have a bunch of pieces. So we'll be able to set up... Oh, and we get the TM Evolution. Okay. Okay. So we're going to Artazon this turn. I want to get... Okay, so both pieces of Togekiss and Togetic and Togekiss are both prized. So we're just going to grab a Pidgey. We're going to TM Evo with a Boomerang here. Well, we have Togekiss in hand. Togetic is in the prizes. That's the problem. We don't really need Buddy-Buddy anymore. So what I want to do is get a Pidgeotto. And I must have unclicked. God dang it. Okay. Not a problem. We can Grand Tree to fix this. Oh, we have this Rosic down. Okay, so Rosic. We'll Rosic those 5 cards. Okay, not the end of the world. We still have the pieces we want. The Togekiss going into the deck is not a horrible deck. Okay. So what we're going to do is that we're going to put a Togepi onto the bench. We're just going to get that ready. We are going to Grand Tree one of the Slakoths here. We're going to Hilda to get a Pidgeotto and an Ignition Energy. Or Pidgeot, sorry, not Pidgeotto. And we're just going to try to start putting aggressive pressure on with the Slaking MEGs. We're just shy. That's the one thing with this deck that I'm not the biggest fan of, is we don't really have the space for some damage modifiers, which is okay. I'll pull the Ignition Energy out this turn, just to force the knowledge play from our opponent that we have an energy. And if he tries to do something to our hand, we have to Pidgeot to get it back. So we're really just putting pressure on our opponent now, because we are able to set this up so quickly. The healing doesn't affect us. Because we put so much onto their side of the board, the healing doesn't affect us as much as maybe putting into windows for other decks. So we're seeing the Pokegear. We've already seen the Lillie. We're going to have to see Kanga flip a whole bunch of heads. And they do nothing to our hand, even though we have the Pidgeot. So that is going to be a very easy GG here for us. Kind of just allowed ourselves to just put on pressure with our evolutions with the Grand Tree against this Kanga deck. And we're seeing a lot of these Kanga variants on the ladder. So being able to two-shot Kanga and not worrying about the heal part of that strategy definitely makes this matchup feel better when you're facing Kanga archetypes on the ladder. But let's jump into another game to see how we do against another archetype. Alright, time for us to go second in another match here. So we're leading with Slakoth. Don't really have much else in the hand. Going against Armourouge. Okay, so Armourouge can one-shot us. We can one-shot it. They're just quicker. So we're going to definitely have to get a good, good top deck here. And it's a Slakoth. Okay. They're just gonna bench and pass and see what happens here. Okay. Ledge. Is our opponent just gonna start dumping energy and going? No. He's either has nothing in his hand or... Okay. This is definitely a... I'm playing to be slow here. So, these first two turns are definitely showing off the biggest weakness I feel with our build, and with just slacking in general, is that it can be really slow. We just not able to set up the way we would like. But with this Hilda, we're able to salvage the turn here by doing slacking, ignition energy, right? Yeah, ignition energy. And we're going to take 2 prizes. We're going to have to force our opponent to do something next turn. And now with just some momentum on our side here, we have been able to kind of just get ourselves in a position where we kind of bought ourselves a couple more turns. We just put ignition energy off the prizes. We have Buddy-Buddy. We have Rare Candy, so we can Buddy-Buddy Pidgey and Togepi and start trying to get this ball rolling. We got a little slower, which definitely sucked. But now our opponent's going to have to really invest. 90? Okay. So we're able to take more prizes, really slow them down. We got a Hilda out of all that as well. So let's grab a Pidgey, grab a Togepi. Let's grab a Hilda here for next turn. I want to grab Baby Slaking with Ignition Energy here. Basically, I know we're not going to have an active, we're just going to have to play around with some pieces here. We're going to get 2 more prizes. We're going to get rid of any threat on the board here. And let's see, what do we get off the prizes here? We got an Arven and a Lillie's Determination. Arven will be able to get us a Switch if we kind of just see. Okay, so what's our opponent has to get Lunatone, and they're just trying to stall. They're trying to not make sure they don't deck themselves out. Alright, so we're going to Rare Candy in the Pidgeot here. I want to... I want to Arven for a Switch. And we'll just go grab the Counter Gain, just grab something out of the deck here. We're going to... just going to switch into the baby. Let's quick search here. And we're going to quick search for the Grand Tree. If it's not prized, it isn't. Fantastic. Let's Grand Tree here. Let's Grand Tree up to Togekiss, because this would be able, if we flip heads, be able to get us the game. And 240. Using the baby Slaking. We're asleep, but that's fine. Tails. Okay, so one more. That's fine, that's fine. Let's grab that. And now we can, we can go slow here. Oh, we almost got the wake up. That would have been clutch. Our opponent really can't do much, so let's slowly build up this backup Slaking. And because we can't attack with... hold on. I need to think of an alternate attacker here. Believe it or not, I think we're going to have to finish a Rotom here. Because we're not going to be able to attack with the Slaking. I'm not going to make that an assumption of the turn. But we do have the Arven. Okay. Actually, I'm going to fail the Arven. And we're going to end turn. We're just going to have to wait for sleep to hit. I don't want to get into a situation where we get too aggressive and try to pull too many cards out of the deck. I'd rather wait for the 25% chance it will hit both heads. And then jet energy up whatever attacker we want to bring up. Because this is now a test of patience. Because we could put energy on Pidgeot. We can put energy on the Togekiss. We can kind of start getting this ready. Yeah, we're just hitting 50-50s. We're not hitting the 2-0 yet, which is fine. We have time. So really at this point, I'm just gonna end turn. Really, we were trying to hit that heads on the Togekiss. Okay, perfect. So we're awake. So next turn, we could Jet Energy up Pidgeot for the game. That's going to be the end game. Believe it or not, we're going to use Pidgeot as an attacker for the game. And there's our opponent conceding, seeing that we are just one turn away. So, fun. It sucked that our opponent didn't set up well at all like us, and we were able to kind of just get that one turn. But you saw that one turn just turned into a stone going down a mossy hill, kind of again, and then we were just overwhelming in like 2 turns. So we can pop off out of nowhere with this deck, which is the fun part of this archetype. So that is this variation of Slaking EX with the pre-Mega Ascension build. It's a deck that honestly does really like just how the meta is kind of situating itself right now. It can one-shot all of the basic and stage 1 EXs. It loves the fact that everyone puts an EX in play, like a Squawkabilly or a Fezandipiti, so it's always active, so the Born to Slack ability is not really an issue, even with the fact we're not playing Team Rocket's Watchtower ourselves. The amount of Kangaskhan in the format does not scare it, because we can 2-shot it before it can 2-shot us in a lot of situations. So it's very well positioned. Yes, there are some areas this deck does need to kind of figure out. Most notably, early game consistency. It is very much hit or miss, I feel like, with my testing and some of the gameplay we saw today. And then also, it does struggle a lot against the bulky EX, stage 2 EXs and the Mega EXs. It really can't handle a 2-shot war with those archetypes, really. But it can handle a lot of the others, so it's one of those situations where, with it kind of cheating the rules per se, with the Rare Candies, the Grand Tree, the Togekiss, you can outrace your opponent if you get set up, and it has very easy tools for you to set up fairly consistently. So I love it. This is the version of Slaking that I actually enjoyed the most out of all the testing, out of research. I think that Togekiss is a great tech with the Grand Tree kind of inclusion, so you can pop off out of nowhere and then take extra prizes out of nowhere, which is fantastic to see and feel. But let me know what you guys think of Slaking EX. What lists do you prefer to play? What lists have you seen? What techs have you seen to make this archetype maybe a little more consistent? Like I said, I went with the Togekiss archetype and Togekiss build of this archetype today. I just had more fun with it. I thought that was a lot more creative and kind of opened more doors. But as always, guys, if you made it this far into the video, don't forget to check to see if you subscribe to the channel. Our analytics show that almost 3/4 of you guys have not subscribed to us. And you guys just come by and say hi and enjoy our videos, which we love. But if you want to see more of us, definitely click that subscribe button. Like the video if you haven't. And again, if you are loving Slaking EX and you play a different version, put that version in the comments. I'd love to see what you guys say. But with that being said, guys, thank you again. And as always, have fun playing those sneaky decks.